Well done, mate.
There
Well
we
done.
are. There we are.
Nailed it.
There we are. Okay, people still arriving. We'll just have to take it in turns to let people in, but I reckon we should get cracking. I can't see you. I don't know where you've gone.
Me?
Yeah. Oh
Don't
no, I
worry,
can see you now.
you know my face pretty well.
There she is.
There she goes.
She is. Well, yeah. Welcome everybody. Um, yeah, we're sorry that you're in this gang and that you need to be here today, but we hope that it's going to be very helpful. Okay,
Right, let's dive in.
let's dive in. First of all, we wanted to ask you how you're all doing. Feel free to pop stuff in the chat. We'll be asking you some questions as we go along as well. So hopefully you'll be able to participate a little bit. But we wanted to know what you hope to gain from being here today. Just pop it in the chat and we will keep an eye on that.
Yeah, what
open it.
feeling lost, Sophie. I'm so sorry that you're feeling lost. It's shit. And yeah, Emily says 2 of her friends have just announced pregnancies or have babies. And that is really definitely why we are here, is to talk about all those difficult feelings that surround your friends and families' happy news, even colleagues, even people that you don't speak to often. Especially in social media being the way it is, I don't know about you guys, but I've got friends on Facebook that I haven't seen for maybe 20 years. And when they pop up with their happy news, you just think, oh, fuck off. Like, why? It's not fair. And like I've just seen in the chat box, like the rage, resentment, envy, they're all such difficult feelings to manage. And they're feelings that you don't expect to have following the loss of your baby. You know about the grief, right? You expect the grief, you expect the sadness, you expect the depression, you expect all that. And when that comes, it's horrible and it's painful. But because you expect it, you feel sort of armored against it. And I think it's much easier to accept those feelings. But when you get hit by this kind of an additional wave of really, really intense emotions, like the ones we just talked about, like the jealousy, the bitterness, that inability to feel joy for someone else's news, you start to really take that on board and internalize it, and you start to then feel shit about yourself. Like, some of us might be thinking, who am I? Like, who have I become that I can't be happy for my sister, for my best childhood friend? Like, when the first reaction that you have to someone else's news is not joy, you start to think, fuck, I must be a horrible person. And basically this whole webinar, this whole workshop is to explain all those feelings and to let you know that you're not a horrible person. You are absolutely not a horrible person. It's a completely natural way to feel. And we're going to hopefully help you see that it's not you, it's a natural thing that we all a lot of us go through. So yeah, that's the aim of our evening. But obviously if there's anything specific that you want answered, then do let us know in the chat box, and we will do our best to kind of help. There'll be a little question and answer at the end as well for anything that you that we've missed that you want covered.
Yeah, hopefully we will cover most things, but we'll try and keep an eye on the chat if there's anything else. People still arriving. So just some admin bits. At the end of this, we will be talking to you very briefly about the membership platform that we host, about how it can support you, and there will be a special offer for you guys. Feel free to take any screenshots of anything that's helpful for you. You'll also receive a copy of the recording tomorrow in an email. And if you wanted to share anything on socials, we would absolutely love that. Feel free to tag us. That would be amazing. And then lastly, if you have any feedback, our email address is info@twgge.co.uk. We are always looking for feedback at the end of the day, we've been through our own experiences, and we have spoken to lots of women over the years about theirs, and we try our very best to make this as useful for you as possible. But if there is anything that you wanted to feedback, feel free. We would love to hear from you. So yeah, let's get started with how it all began, right?
Yes, how it all began. So for those of you who are sort of new to the Worst Girl Gang Ever, as Laura's always said, we are so sorry that you're here. But we welcome you with empty arms and broken hearts, and we just want to validate your loss, really. We're so sorry that you lost your baby. It's just such a shit thing to go through, and we're 100% here for you. So we started the Worst Girl Gang Ever just during the first lockdown. So in May 2020, I found out on my 12-week scan that I had lost the baby a couple of weeks beforehand. And I just wasn't prepared for the grief and the pain that came alongside that loss. I knew the statistics. I knew statistically 1 in 4 pregnancies ended that way, but I wasn't prepared for that to be me. And I couldn't believe that people weren't talking about it. I couldn't believe that if this was the pain, why wasn't it like front page news? Why weren't more people talking about it and trying to do something about it? And that led me on to kind of want to change the way that support looked for other women that were yet to go through it or that were going through it alongside me. And then I met Laura, and we both basically just decided that what was really, really missing, because I don't know about you guys, but when I left the hospital, I left with like a shitty bit of paper and a load of medical jargon that made me feel like my baby was only real to me, like loads of medical terminology. I didn't feel like the doctor spoke to me like I'd lost a baby. I felt like it was a sort of medical procedure almost that I'd been through. And we decided what was missing was this peer-to-peer support, just from people that have been there and people that could hold your hand and say, yeah, it's shit. Not people that started sentences with at least, and not people that tried to take away any of the pain that you were going through with kind of platitudes and that sort of thing. So we know, right, that miscarriage and baby loss is a really taboo subject, and it's so sad that it is, but that is the way it is. But perhaps the most taboo of all of it is the ugly feelings that come along after miscarriage, because it's difficult enough to talk about your loss without people kind of feeling awkward or embarrassed. But actually, if you start talking about the shit that you feel afterwards, you just feel like no one's going to understand that. No one's going to understand. And what we wanted to do is create a space for people to air the really, really difficult feelings that are so natural after loss.
I mean, when you say no one understands, I don't know about any of you guys, but even like in the early days of my loss journey, even my husband would say, can't you just be happy for them? And I used to think, no, I bloody can't. I can't be happy for them. I'm really struggling with this. But I mean, over time, he began to see where I was coming from. But I think that's something that we hear quite a lot, isn't it? Can't you just be happy for them?
Yeah, it is. It's really difficult. And I think that when your immediate reaction is like, no, I can't just be happy for them, then that creates even more of a barrier. And it's like, you then feel like you're completely the only person in the world, because even the person that's going through this with you doesn't understand the way you feel after the loss. And that is a really, really, really lonely place to be.
Yeah, it is. I've got a question here for you. Okay. That should have come up on your screens. Wanted to find out how often you are affected by the ugly feelings. Can you see it? No one's answering it, so I don't know if they can.
Yeah,
Can
we can see it.
Oh,
We
okay.
can see it.
Right.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's how I felt all the bloody time. Relentless. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, we really need to help you guys manage these, don't we? Shall we move on and get started?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. She says, I've got all of these things open on my screen. Just admit a latecomer. So, alrighty. The cycle of shit.
Yes. So does this happen when you see a pregnancy announcement? You feel like shit. You feel like shit for feeling like shit. You obsess about feeling like shit. Yeah, you are completely normal. Like this cycle of shit that we're talking about is the ones when the initial announcement makes you feel so sad about your own life, and then you start to question, like, why do I feel sad? I can't believe I feel sad for this person. It could be someone really close to you, and then you start beating yourself up, and then you can't stop thinking about the fact that you feel like shit and you feel like shit, and then you sort of repeat steps 1 to 3 over and over again, and it's just, gosh, it's impossible, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I don't know if you know how to do the whole hand raising thing, but raise your hand if you feel a huge amount of anger, shame, and guilt for struggling to feel joy for others. Yeah, here we go. It was my biggest problem for such a long time. Controversial, but we're honest and we always tell our own stories. I actually think that these feelings for me were, if anyone doesn't know, I went through recurrent loss. I had lots of early losses. 13, I think. I don't know. Bex probably remembers better than I do. Keep forgetting. A lot of losses. And actually, at one point, the ugly feelings were more difficult to deal with than the losses themselves. I say controversial because obviously that won't be the case for everybody, but for me, it was like I withdrew from everyone around me. I literally got up, went to work, came home again for quite a long time, and I always talk about my pit of despair, my dark place, and I can still picture it. I can still feel it. It was all triggered by my sister-in-law becoming pregnant, and I'd had people become pregnant before that around me, but this was like, it just hit me really, really hard. And what hit me even harder was the fact that I couldn't even look her in the face. And this was going to be my first niece or nephew, and all I could think of, was that I should have had the first grandchild, that I'd already lost 3, 4, 5 pregnancies at that point. And I hated the way I felt about her. It was the lowest point of my life. I went to a counselling session because it upset me so much. And I walked in the room and the woman was like, oh, you've been through a lot. And I said, yeah, but my biggest issue, I need you to help me not hate pregnant people. And she was like, no, you need to come to terms with your own losses. This isn't about them. It's about your losses and your grief. And I was like, no, I'm dealt with my grief. But what I can't cope with is this feeling left behind and feeling like I'm missing out and everyone else is getting what I want. And I just hate the way I feel about other people. You need to help me. Anyway, I never went back because she didn't get me. But yeah, it was the hardest point of my life. So if any of you are there right now, like, yeah, we see you, we hear you, we totally understand.
Absolutely. And I think that, one of the hardest things, and I think this is what I was saying earlier about, I don't know about you guys, but I'm still friends with people that I don't know on Facebook. And one of the hardest things is when we see stuff on social media, we sit there knocking back hundreds of pounds worth of vitamins. We chow down on antioxidants. We fucking drink unicorn piss if someone told us it was going to help us have a baby. And yet we see old bloody you know, Claire from primary school got knocked up with someone that she just met, you know, and it's so unfair. It feels so unfair. And especially when, you know, and then we find ourselves judging people because maybe we see people that have fallen pregnant and we know they're heavy drinkers, or we know they dabble with the old drugs, and then we feel like, how do they deserve this more than I do when I am living this clean lifestyle and I'm doing everything I can, and yet they're doing bloody lines in the toilet on a Saturday night, and suddenly they're having babies, you know. It just, it's all so shit, and our hearts burn with this kind of longing and anger, but we can't help feeling that way. And then we start to feel like really Judge Judy's, and we hate it, and we start to really internalize that pain, and we start hating ourselves, don't we?
Yeah, we do. I'm just going to apologize now if you can hear my dog crying. He's always been a whiny one when I'm on a Zoom call. But yeah, I was just reading all of the comments in the chat. There's loads of people feeling the same. Yes, this is being recorded. You'll get a copy sent to you via email. Okay. Right. Take a look at these bad boys. Do you recognize any of these?
So these are like the ugly feelings, right? So we got our heads together, and these are honest. Like this is what we got our heads together, and we were like, right, what kind of things do we think? We've spoken to so many women over the last 3 years, and this is all real. These are all things that people have shared with us. They didn't even want one, you know. They already have a baby. You can't handle your kids, and I can't even have one. Take your matching Christmas pajamas and shove them up your ass. You know, we've all been there, and it's the most irritating. Like, take your baby out of the fucking pumpkin. It's, do you know what I mean? And then you feel like awful for thinking these things because you don't even know these people's stories, and then you start thinking, oh, maybe they've had a tough time, and then something in you goes, I don't care they've had a tough time. I am so in a dark spot right now, and I can't dig myself out of it, and that is so hard. It's such a difficult place. It's such a difficult sort of spot to be in, because you just can't see anything good about anything, and it's so insidious. It seeps into every area of your life, doesn't it? You can't find yourself. You can't focus at work, and you can't focus on your family or your partner, and you know, it just, you know that you have to be doing all these things, and then you start thinking about trying again, and that's another whole current. And all of the time you're consistently triggered by things, consistently, because of the way that social media is. You can't get away from it. So WhatsApp groups, Facebook, Instagram, all of this stuff that is such a fundamental and many times like important part of our lives now, it just does mean that you're constantly faced with triggers, whereas you might not have been, you know, years ago.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff popping up in the chat, but we did just want to say that there is actually nothing wrong with matching Christmas PJs or moaning about your pelvic floor issues, right? It's not about them. It's just about how we feel about it after everything that we've been through. There's some funny stuff in the chat.
Is it?
Okay, right. Our survival guide. So we've talked about the uglies and how to recognize them, what they are, and everyone that's here, we all suffer from them in some way. But what do we do about it? Understanding why this happens will help us to accept them and ultimately manage them in a better way so they don't become all-consuming. Yeah. So, are we ready?
Are we ready?
Number one, numero uno.
Don't get caught up. Having ugly feelings does not make you an ugly person. I know we sort of touched on this earlier, but the reason that we have ugly feelings is basically, I wrote a blog post on this, so I'm going to give you a really quick overview, but if you want more detail, go and have a look at the blog post I wrote. So our brains are basically wired for the fight or flight response. And years ago, this was really helpful because you know, the flight response made us, it was a danger response. So if you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, like, you really need to kind of get a move on. But over time, like, we don't have this real danger in our lives anymore, but our brains don't really know that. So they interpret the way we feel as danger, and actually it's not. And this interpretation comes when we see these triggering posts. Our brain goes, oh, danger, flight or fight, and everything is completely out of whack, and your brain sort of can't cope with it. So hang on, I'm not explaining this very well. So our limbic system is basically our animal chimp brain, and that goes into action, and it's very quick and very strong. So you have your rational mind, which is the one that goes, oh, maybe they've had problems, or maybe this, or maybe that, and I am, you know, the kind of normal, in inverted commas, part of you that can rationalize everything. But because your other brain, your animal brain, is so much quicker, it gives you this really violent response, which is the ugly feelings. And that it's not part of your natural emotional state. It's just that really kind of worked up response, and that is essentially why we feel them. And there's nothing you can do about that initial response, because that limbic system, is what it's called in your brain, is so much faster and so much stronger. So what we kind of need to do is get back from that, give a pause and a like a little sort of time to assess what's happening before your human brain can take over again.
Wow, thanks for the science.
That's all right. But I mean, as I said, the blog post explains it a lot better. And one thing we can do is, because we know when we understand that this animal brain is just trying to protect us, it's trying to get us out of this danger, what we perceive to be danger, we can actually take a step back and say, oh, thanks, brain, I understand what you're trying to do, but this is not an appropriate response right now. Therefore, I'm going to pause a minute and look to my human brain for some help once I calm down. And what we can do about that is just things like breathing exercises. Like, the whole meditation, breathing exercises is such a buzzword now, but it really does work. If you can breathe in for 4, out for more, that's what I was taught. If you can give yourself that little bit of space to regain composure, then you will naturally start to calm down.
Yeah, it's really good for the nervous system. I'm not normally into that sort of stuff, but we you know, we've hosted workshops and stuff in the warriorship, and actually they've been really helpful.
Really helpful.
Yeah, it's a really good thing to have in your emotional toolbox, right?
Absolutely. And the thing is about this emotional toolbox, if you guys have been following us for a while, we do talk about the emotional toolbox a lot. But
do.
I do. I love the emotional toolbox, because the more tools you can get in there, like, meditation won't work for everyone. But if you put meditation in your emotional toolbox, it might not work for you now, but it might work for you in 3 months' time, when you've processed more, when you calm down, you might be in a better state to be able to meditate. But right now, something else might be helpful for you. So if we can give you as many emotional tools as possible to get in that toolbox, then you can use them all at different places. Like, in our warriorship, our membership, we have a module on gratitude, and we used to run courses, and gratitude was one of the courses that we ran, and lots of people weren't ready for it right at the beginning of the course, but once they'd reached the end of the course, they were really ready to kind of accept the ideas behind gratitude. They might not begin to practice it for another couple of months, but all these things give you the opportunity to find something that works for you right now, because that's all we have. At the end of the day, all we have is right now, and whatever works for you right now might not work for you next week, next month, next year. But if it works right now, then do it right now, and worry about tomorrow when tomorrow comes.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll come on to all that a bit later. Let's move on to number 2. Tell people what you need from them. So yeah, you shouldn't have to spell it out, but when we do, it can help. We're all different, so we all need different things, and actually we might need different things at different times, and we can't expect people to be psychic, or Although that would be nice, would be handy. But it depends what you need. Do you need company? Do you need space? Do you want to know in advance about things that might trigger you, or would you rather it be kept from you, so that it doesn't upset you? We know that people do and say the wrong things all the time. I'm seeing it come up in the chat time and time again, all the at leasts. We know that they do that, but it is usually, not always, it's usually for the right reasons. When people say, at least you can get pregnant, just in that pop up in the chat, they're just trying to help you, make you feel better, look on the bright side, like to try and soften the blow, if you will. I mean, friends and family who haven't experienced loss won't know, for example, won't know how to share their pregnancy news with you. So we asked in one of the polls about how you would prefer to find out about your, okay, look, there we go. 77% of people said they prefer to find out about their friend's pregnancy via a private message. A few of you face to face. Some of you'd rather not know. There you go. See, we're all different. So what I did in my experience, after I'd been through a few losses, I was living in this baby loss world, and I was fed up with being triggered. So I just told people, I'd go to people's weddings, right? And I'd sit there watching them get married, thinking they're going to be fucking pregnant in a few months' time. And how am I going to deal with that? Do I avoid them so that I don't have to hear that news when we all go out next time? And then I thought, no, come on, Laura, just tell them. So I would say, look, mate, I know you're probably going to be trying for a baby soon. And they were like, yeah, we are. Said, oh, do me a favor, when it happens, do you mind messaging me? Because I don't know, obviously I'll be happy for you. I mean, probably wouldn't be, but you have to tell people that. But I would say, just, would you mind messaging me? Because I really struggled with the face-to-face announcements. And I remember I'm a nurse and I work on the wards mostly with women, and it felt like every bloody 5 minutes someone was announcing their pregnancy. And I've talked about this a few times, but because I knew I was really put back by it and didn't really know how to handle the situation, but didn't want people to think I was a complete arsehole, I developed this over the top, oh my God, I'm so happy for you kind of response, where I then asked them loads of questions about their pregnancy, and really, like, it would just, I don't know, they probably knew it was fake. I didn't know how else to handle it. So face to face for me is a no-no. I remember once my friend she told me, it was very respectful. She said, I just wanted to tell you, we're on a night out. We were at Gaucho's. I'd already had about 7 Aperol spritz, and she sat me down and said, I know you're struggling, and I just wanted to tell you that we are pregnant, and I just wanted you to be the first one to know, because I know how difficult it is for you. I mean, how lovely of her to tell me and understand what I'd been going through. But, like, come on, I then got really, really pissed, cried on the dance floor later, and in hindsight, asking her to send me a message would have been a bit more sensible. So that's what I started doing, started messaging people.
Yeah, I think as Laura said, like, people generally just don't know what to do. And because we think about this all of the time, right? We expect people to know what we're thinking, but they don't. So if you feel brave enough to be as clear as possible with your friends and family, then that's I think that's a really good way forward. And we actually recorded a podcast episode specifically for friends and family. So if you're happy to point your friends and family in the direction of our podcast, then we say it so you don't have to. And we cover all of this stuff in the friends and family podcast, and we discuss about how good ways to kind of announce a pregnancy, or how to do it sensitively, and all of that stuff. And then maybe it'll throw up like a conversation as well between you, and you can open up about how you personally would find it would be happiest to receive that news. Because as some of you have said, like, some of you would want to know face to face, so that it feels a bit, I don't know, more honest, or, you know, however, whatever reason you have for wanting that kind of, that news announced to you, that's completely individual. And if you can share that, it would be really, really helpful, not just for you, but for the people that want to support you as well. They don't want to get it wrong.
No, they don't. There's yeah, lots of stuff in the chat about really awful announcements. It's gone now, but someone said about the A&E nurse giving them a hug and she was heavily pregnant. Like, oh God. There's so much wrong in the healthcare system, isn't there? Someone else mentioned earlier, this is going off topic, but someone else mentioned earlier about coming out into a waiting room full of pregnant women after they just received their bad news. So yeah, lots needs to change. Anyway, that's another story. And don't worry, we were on the bandwagon with that too. All right, moving on to number 3. Take a step back. Protect yourself and your emotions.
It's 100% okay to protect yourself and your emotions. In fact, it's not just okay, it's completely necessary. And sometimes that means that you do need to withdraw a bit to create some space between yourself and the people who are sort of hurting you and triggering you. And that can mean leaving WhatsApp groups. It can mean unfollowing people. It can mean declining invites to baby showers. It can mean declining invites to christenings. You know, just because you perceive these events to be important doesn't mean that you have to be at them. It's so important to protect yourself, you know, wherever possible. There will obviously be events and situations that you will have to go to, or that you can't decline. But on the whole, do what you can to minimize your triggers by avoiding certain situations. You might, like we said earlier, like avoiding things, it might only be a couple of months that you feel like really, really that you need to avoid all these things. But that's a couple of months that you should do that. You know, you should never put what you worry someone else might think of you in front of how you feel. Because if you want to, for example, if one of your friends is throwing a baby shower, they've got enough people going, they'll have enough joy around them to be fine. You don't need to put yourself at the bottom of the pile there and worry about the fact that they might think you're not happy for them, or whatever. So just a little text saying, I'm really sorry, but I just don't feel up to coming. And if they're friends and family members, then they will understand. They really, truly will.
I'm just looking at the results of the poll about the trigger avoidance. So it's great to see that so many of you are actively avoiding triggers. Lots of you have unfollowed on the socials and declined the invites, left the WhatsApp group. Yeah, leaving the WhatsApp group's a hard one, isn't it? Because it's like so-and-so has left the group. And you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't do it on the sly.
No, it's a wanker. I hate that.
Yeah.
There's no bigger statement than leaving a WhatsApp group. But do you know what? You know, there's nothing to say that you can't just write, I'm finding this WhatsApp group really challenging at the moment. I really hope I'm going to be back soon. You know, Bex has left the group. It's fine. It's absolutely.
Or archive it if it's a group that you don't want to say that to. You can archive it. But I think, you know, these big events like the christenings and the baby showers and weddings and stuff, they're hard, but you have time to prepare for them. You know what you're going into, right? So you sort of build yourself up, you put your game face on and prep your partner, and you can sort of deal with it because you've got the expectations. But the worst thing is the socials, because they just hit you out of nowhere. Sometimes you can log on to Facebook and see 3 poxy announcements all in a row. But WhatsApp, I think WhatsApp is the worst because it's so easily accessible. You're on there every day. Everyone you speak to, mostly these days, is via WhatsApp. So it's so difficult to avoid. I think that's why it's good to be upfront if you can, but if you can't, then just put it in a box somewhere else in the archive. Move it to the archive. Yeah. Oh, guys. Right.
Right, next slide, please.
Next slide, please.
Don't have
Oh,
a clicker.
what was that guy's name in lockdown?
Yeah, what was that guy's name? It
Next
wasn't
slide,
Matt
please.
Hancock, was it?
Oh, yes, it was.
Chris Whitty.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway, the next slide, please, guys.
I want to pop it in the chat in a sec. So, number 4, do the things you love. Find joy in other areas of your life.
Yeah, so this is my personal favorite one because it has worked for me so well. It's the bit you probably if you've been following us for a while, you've probably even heard me say is we cannot change the way we feel, but what we can do is work on ourselves, and the way we feel will change.
Oh,
And
you got it right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't work. Well done.
No, sometimes it doesn't flow, but thanks for pointing that out. Sometimes I get all tongue-tied and I say completely the wrong thing. But yeah, the way, so we can't help the ugly things, we can't help the way we feel. And I used to think it was all about changing that initial reaction, changing the anger, changing that. And that one day I would feel these triggering feelings, and they wouldn't, like, I would be able to stop them from coming. But actually what I've done is really concentrated on other areas of my life, and the way I feel, I still feel the triggers about certain aspects of my life, but they don't affect me as much because I've really put the work in other areas. And this is really challenging when you are just in a dark place. But sometimes, like, for example, sports, like if you like team sports or something and you've fallen out of netball, for example, sometimes just doing a bit of research into like your local netball club or something like that is a therapy in itself, because it's giving you something else to focus on. And I'm a massive advocate for sports, firstly, and exercise, because you're raising your endorphins and your serotonin, all this good shit that happens when you exercise. But also you're just doing something that isn't in the world of grief and baby loss and anger and solitude and isolation. You're doing something with people. You don't have to talk about necessarily what you're going through, unless of course you want to. And it's a big release. So guys, in the chat, just tell us, give us some ideas. What do you love doing? Give us some hobbies, some pastimes that you can get lost in. Like Laura loves netball. Laura's back to netball, weren't you?
I mean, I don't loves. I more enjoy the catching up with my mates than the actual running around in 30-degree heat. But yeah.
Yeah, loads of people are writing. Like, creativity, I think, is incredible. Like, obviously we both write a bit. We've written a book. And yeah, like reading. Someone's just said reading. I stopped reading for years. I just felt so bogged down by life that I felt like I didn't have time to read. And I've just been through quite a difficult year, and I started reading again, and it's given me this like escapism.
Look.
This is the book. So we have in our membership, we have a book club once a month, and we
right,
take a completely unrelated book, and we all read it, and we come back and we chat and we laugh, and yeah, it's really opened an avenue for that kind of different stuff. And that's what we've tried to do with the membership, is introduce you to loads and loads of different little things that might help you. Painting, art, all this sort of creative stuff really sets a different part of your brain off, and it can be incredibly helpful. And what that does is build your overall resilience, and it builds your sort of inner confidence, so that when those triggers come along, which they inevitably will, you're just in a better place to deal with them. It's not that they won't come, it's just that you'll feel more confident in your ability to deal with them, your ability to handle them.
There are people writing in the chat that they don't have the energy, or they just feel so low they can't be asked with any of all this. But it reminds me of a podcast episode when you asked me, if you could go back, what would you have done differently? How would you have like navigated it all differently? And I was like, I don't think I could have. I think I was, as you know, the whole lost part of my life was what it was. I don't think there was any way of making that any better. But what I wish I had done is, instead of just withdrawing from everything, I wish I'd just kept some of the me stuff going, the stuff that I enjoyed and the stuff that I knew made me feel good. Even if you fake it till you make it, like we all know that exercise, or even just fresh air, even just going out for a walk, walking the dogs or getting a dog, can help you feel so much better. It's like, no, never ever do you go for a walk and feel worse for doing it, unless you see like some nasty car crash or something like that. But you know, usually you feel better for doing it. And Sharla, who is our gratitude coach in the membership platform, she's a great advocate for crumbs of joy, isn't she? She talks about filling your day, not filling your day, but recognizing in your day the little things, tiny little things. Her story is phenomenal. She's such a warrior, and she, for weeks on end, just couldn't even face getting out of bed. And then one day she sat on the edge of her bed and she was like, that sunlight is beautiful. The way the sun's coming in and reflecting and blah, 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 blah is so wonderful. And then she noticed that that made her feel a bit brighter. And then she had a nice cup of coffee in her favourite mug. And she was like, oh, this is really nice. I really like this. And she, she calls them crumbs of joy. So, you know, we challenge you to tomorrow, look for the crumbs of joy.
And if you're feeling like, I really struggle with sort of anxiety and feelings of overwhelm. And when I'm in that really, really dark space, I just try and do one thing. And I think sometimes when you break it down and you try and live in the moment, and again, I know that's really buzzword, to live in the moment, but when you try and just do one thing, just pick one crumb of joy, just make yourself a favorite drink, go out for a nice coffee, it does start to build the resilience, and you will start to feel different. And it's a gradual process, and you know, but it's those incremental changes that you can employ in your life every day, and they will start to build up and build that biscuit using the crumbs.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I quickly say, I just saw in the chat, someone said, does anyone else feel guilty for feeling joy? And that really, really resonates, because loads of people feel that, and that is a completely normal way to feel. And it's very easy for me to sit here and say you shouldn't feel like that. But what I can say is that there is so much sorrow and grief in your life right now. There is so much darkness, that cling on to whatever slice of happiness you can get. Just enjoy it, because no one is going to begrudge you that at all. And I think that's a really, really important and very, very common thing for people to think, is that little bit of guilt, like, does this mean I didn't love my baby enough? You know, that's at the pit of it. For me, that was always at the pit of it, that fear that it meant that I didn't care enough, which I know is not true, but it's that real sort of deep subconscious worry. So I just want to say, I don't know who said that, but you just hold on to that joy when you can. Just hold on to it, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with feeling it at all. You're a human, and this is what we have, the ability to hold more than one emotion at the same time. Just because you've seen something that makes you smile does not mean that you are over your experience. We never get over these experiences, but we do learn to live with them, we learn to carry them, and we learn to move forward. And doing all this stuff that we're suggesting you is going to help you do that.
Okay, number 5.
We are your tribe. So we know that everything that we said, and about talking to other people about what you need and all of that stuff, is all very well and good, right? But sometimes you just need to talk to people that get it. And that is what we're here for. This community is absolutely incredible, and it's filled with women and couples who have experienced similar to you. And everyone is struggling with the grief. Everyone is struggling with that feeling of, if I look happy, all my friends and family are going to think I've gotten over it. Everyone is struggling with that same fear. And we all understand what you're going through. So you come and share with us. Like, it's so important to get these feelings out, as irrational as they may feel, as shameful as you may feel about yourself, about them. I guarantee that if you come along to, like, in our membership, if you came along to one of our Zoom evenings, you could say the worst, what you perceive to be the worst thing, and 5 people go, oh yeah, I felt like that. Yeah, I felt like that. Yeah, I felt like that. And suddenly you leave with this weight lifted off your shoulders, because you know that however shit your situation, however fucking crap you feel, you're not alone in feeling that way. And I think that is the most important thing, is what we were talking about earlier, that peer-to-peer support, where other people literally can completely identify with the shit that you're going through.
Yeah, it was a real turning point for me. Back then there wasn't much about, but except for a few Facebook groups, but just opening up and sharing these, particularly the ugly feelings, the stuff that no one else understood at the time, not even my husband. God, it was liberating. And I mean, this is the whole reason that we've created the Worst Girl Gang Ever, because we're all in it together. You know, we say it all the time: we get you and we've got you. Absolutely. So they are our 5 top tips, aren't they? It is just 5, not 6, right?
Yeah, it's just 5.
It's just 5, a good 5. So we hope it's been helpful, and most importantly, we hope that you know that you are not alone. Yeah, we are your tribe. Okay, as we mentioned at the beginning, we just want to briefly share with you what other ways we can support you. Excuse me. So we want to tell you quickly about our membership platform, which is called the Warriorship. I think Bex touched on earlier that we used to run 6-week courses, didn't you? Did you mention that?
Yeah, I did say, I said just briefly about, and we're going to do this really, really briefly. We used to run courses for trying to conceive after loss, a pathway to recovery, which was for you if you're in the deep stages of grief, as well as pregnancy after loss and all that sort of thing. But we've taken it all and we've put it in one membership, so you can get all the content that we release for our courses, along with a load of live events. And they're live events like this. And we have weekly sort of drop-in Zoom sessions where you can come and just talk about whatever you're feeling that week and get a load of peer-to-peer support. And they're just, and also we have educational ones, like, I don't know if some of you are familiar with Rachel Sheriff. She comes once a month and talks about various fertility sort of issues and gives you help there. And there's just loads of creative webinars as well, with like the painting. We've got a candle making workshop in the beginning of October in honor of Baby Loss Awareness Month, so you can make your own candle. And there's just all this really, really wholesome kind of beneficial stuff to help you with that resilience, to help you build up your life around what's happened. No one, it's such a safe space, because no one thinks that you've gotten over what you went through. Everyone is there feeling the way you feel, but we are all, you know, we're feeling it together. And all the experiences, all the sort of activities that we planned you're going to be joined by other women who are in that same space as you. So there's no triggers and nothing like that.
Yeah, initially we were just there for the 6-week course, but now we are pleased that it's more accessible to people, and we can be there throughout the whole journey, right from the very moment of receiving the bad news through to the end of your journey, however that looks. Just wanted to let you know what the 4 courses up here are. The PTR was our pathway to recovery course, so that was for people who were deep in grief after loss. TTC, most of you might know that that's trying to conceive after loss, and PAL is pregnancy after loss, and then there's ending your fertility journey. Plus we've got a mind, body and soul section, and there's just so much content in there. And the live events, there's 12 to 15 each month. So if any of you are already in the Warriorship and are on here, if you want to pop in the chat how you find it and what your favourite part of it is. That would be amazing. Or if anyone's got any questions that the girls can answer. We just wanted to show you some of what people have said about how it's helped them. Bex, have you got the link? Because we've got
I sure have.
got a special offer for you guys. We have
Oh, hang on, I'm sending it to someone directly. Oh, bloody hell. Started so well.
Oh dear.
How do I message everyone? I don't know how to message everyone.
Oh, who the message?
Yeah. Is it meeting group chat? Is that
Yes,
right?
that's it. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So the special offer is a 7-day free trial for you to come in, have a nosy around, check the platform out, come to our drop-in sessions, come to some live events, and yeah, if you want to just be there for the 7 days, then that's up to you. But we're pretty sure that you will love it once you start delving into the community chat. So we have a community chat for every different type of.
Hang on, the link just I've realised that I had to copy the Zoom link earlier in this webinar, so ignore that link. Hang on.
You just can't get the staff these days.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Bear with.
I have it here. Would you like me to just do it?
No, because I'm here now, and that would just annoy me.
Cool. So yeah, 7-day free trial. You can cancel anytime. You're not tied in. We will be closing the doors on this offer on Tuesday evening UK time. So if you wanted to come and check it out for 7 days, then you need to do so before then. We will send you an email with the link as well. If Bex, have you done it?
I put the link in a few times, so hopefully you can see it.
So the link will be in the email when we send the recording out to you as well.
Someone asked, will there be meetings for US times? And yeah, we have meetings for US times, and we have meetings for like Australia, New Zealand times as well. We also, lots of people saying, is anyone Leeds, Yorkshire based, or wherever based? So we've got this really cool thing in the Warriorship where you can search for who's near you. So you can look
We've
at
actually got 2 live events coming up, haven't we? 14th and 15th, one in Kent and one in up north somewhere. Up north,
and there's nothing you can direct message other people with. It's like Facebook, so you can direct message other people within the membership as well. So if you find someone that you really like that shared something on the main like Facebook kind of news feed, you can reach out to them if they've got something similar with you, their experience is similar. You can direct message them. It's just like Facebook.
There's so much cool stuff in there. We won't bore you with telling you all about it because even the book club, all those sorts of things. But come and try it out 7 days.
Marie has asked if it's specifically focused more for people that have had miscarriages. No, it's not. We have loads of women who have sadly experienced stillbirth and neonatal loss as well. So it's for anyone who has experienced
and TFMRs, ectopics.
TFMRs, recurrent miscarriage, ectopic pregnancies, chemical pregnancies, super early loss. It's we've got so many people, so many women on there who are there ready to support you. And what I love most about it is that people write something like on the main Facebook wall, someone will write, oh, I've had a shit day, this has happened, blah, 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 and loads of people will go, don't worry, we've got you, what can we do, how can we help? It's just such a lovely place. Such a lovely place. Anyway, lastly, we've overrun as normal, but are there any questions? Does anyone have any question? How long is the trial? It's 7 days. Has anyone got any more questions? Is there a contract?
You can cancel anytime.
So you can cancel within your 7 days and you won't get charged. Or you can cancel afterwards. It's £25 per month after the 7-day trial.
How much?
How much did I say?
I didn't hear what you said.
£25 a month.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm so glad you feel less alone, Sam. That's exactly what we wanted. Yes, there are IVF people there. We also have individual chats. So we have the main chat, which is like the Facebook homepage. And then we have individual rooms for different loss specific groups. So if you're for example, if you're going through IVF, we've got a group especially for IVF. So the chat is all about IVF. We've got one for TFMR. We've got one for, well, we all miscarriage, you know, we've got one for all of them. So if you want to talk to someone specifically about the kind of loss that you've gone through, recurrent miscarriage, for example, there's a group chat about recurrent miscarriage within the warriorship. And there's lots of kind of advice and all that sort of stuff within there. So there is so much, there's just so much in there. And obviously we would love to see you and get to know you get to know us both, and you know, we'd love to be part of your journey and be able to help you wherever we can.
All right, so unless there's any last minute questions, thank you. You are very, very, very welcome.
So glad that the podcast has helped you. It's yeah,
new series coming out in a couple of weeks.
Yes, new series.
Oh, and also, I mean,
the paperback
comes out next week after.
The paperback book comes out on the 28th of September, and we're planning, are we allowed to say this?
Don't know. I don't think so. I don't know. No. Hayley, so sorry to hear that, lovely. Yes, you can DM one of us and we'll give you instructions of how to do that. All right, we better go.
I don't want to go. I'm sorry, Holly, I've just sent you a direct message. I didn't mean to. I just can't work this bloody Zoom shit.
Oh yeah, I've got Holly there as well.
Right, you're all going to get like a ton more emails from us. I'm really sorry about that, but there will be links to join, and you can rewatch this, all that stuff. So yeah, we're sending you so much love, and we hope to make contact with you soon.
Take care.
Bye everyone.
Oh.